So in a dramatic move, the government under President Masoud Pezeshkian severed Iran's internet and international telephone connections as demonstrations swelled, attempting to stifle dissent and control the narrative. Sayyid Ali Hosseini Khamenei, the internet blackout, a now familiar tactic during periods of unrest, aimed to prevent coordination among protesters and block the flow of images and videos to outside world. From abroad, Reza Pahlavi confirmed the silencing of Iran's populace. He called on European leaders to join US President Donald Trump in holding the Iranian regime accountable and deploy all technical, financial and diplomatic resources to restore communications. Namaskar friends, I welcome you all to the digital media of Uday India, and today in India Things I want to speak to you regarding a major development in the streets of Tehran and cities across Iran erupted in anti-government chants on Thursday night, that is 8 January, as widespread protests against the country's theocratic regime intensified, driven by a collapsing economy, soaring living costs and brutal security crackdowns. So in a dramatic move, the government under President Masoud Pezeshkian severed Iran's internet and international telephone connections as demonstrations swelled, attempting to stifle dissent and control the narrative. As clocks struck 8 p.m. local time, the hour designated for protest by exiled opposition figures, neighborhoods across Tehran filled with shouts of death to the dictator and death to the Islamic Republic. Witnesses reported that thousands took to the streets before communications were abruptly cut, plunging the nation into digital isolation. Among the chants were cries in the support of Iran's former monarchy, including, I will quote it, "This is the last battle. Pahlavi will return," a reference to Reza Pahlavi, the exiled crown prince whose father, the Shah, fled Iran just before 1979 Islamic Revolution. Such open support for the deposed monarchy, once a potentially capital offense, underscores the depth of anger fueling current uprising, which began over economic grievances but has rapidly morphed into a broader rejection of Islamic Republic's authority. In response to the escalating unrest, Iranian authorities issued stark warnings. The head of the judiciary and security forces promised a harsh response to those challenging the rule of supreme leader Sayyid Ali Hosseini Khamenei. The internet blackout, a now familiar tactic during periods of unrest, aimed to prevent coordination among protesters and block the flow of images and videos to outside world. From abroad, Reza Pahlavi confirmed the silencing of Iran's populace. He called on European leaders to join US President Donald Trump in holding the Iranian regime accountable and deploy all technical, financial and diplomatic resources to restore communications. The protests that have flickered across Iran for weeks represent a potential convergence of economic despair and political fury. Iran's economy, crippled by systematic mismanagement, corruption and stringent international sanctions, has left millions struggling with poverty and inflation. This tangible hardship has ignited a tinderbox of long suppressed frustrations with the regime's authoritarian grip and social restrictions. Demonstrations have spread beyond Tehran to cities and rural towns, gaining momentum as more markets and bazaars have shuttered in solidarity with the protesters. According to the US-based human rights activist news agency, the violence surrounding the protest has resulted in at least 42 deaths and detention of over 2,270 individuals. Reza Pahlavi's role as a rallying figure is complex. While his call for protest galvanized many, his past support from and for Israel has drawn criticism within Iran, particularly following recent regional conflicts. The chants for the Shah had in some demonstration may not signify universal support for Pahlavi personally, but rather a visceral longing for a pre-revolutionary era, a symbolic rejection of the present theocracy rather than endorsement of the past monarchy. Pahlavi has indicated that further plans will depend on the response to his initial call, positioning himself as a potential figurehead for a fragmented opposition. Meanwhile, inside Iran, the core demands remain clear: freedom from economic hardship and political repression. As Iran remains cut off from the global digital sphere, the world watches a nation struggle to make its cries for freedom heard by beyond its border. The regime's attempt to impose silence through disconnection and force may only be deepening the resolve of a population that has found its voice in shared suffering and collective defiance. The outcome of this confrontation will hinge on whether the regime's instruments of control can outlast the people's enduring demand for the change. That's all for today. Stay tuned with Uday India and subscribe to Uday India.